Today I'm with Mark Bellestri. He is a seasoned entrepreneur with a diverse career in real estate, insurance, banking, consulting, and business ownership. He's successfully grown companies in the locksmith, healthcare, and education sectors. And now as a facilitator, 3 to 5 Club, and a Crankset group leader, Mark helps businesses grow while balancing personal life. He enjoys outdoor activities and volunteering. Welcome, Mark. Great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chuck. It's great. I'm really excited to discuss the topic we're going to be discussing today because for me, when I practice this and execute on it at my highest level, I get the most done with a lot less stress.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And our topic title today, for those who aren't looking at video, why keeping appointments with yourself is so important to your business. So let's jump right into that, Mark. What does it mean when you hear keeping appointments with yourself? Give us a kind of an overview of what you think of when you hear that.
Yeah, so let me give you some definitions of this. And I'm going to start by what Stephen Jobs used to work on with all of his key leaders in his company, which was signal versus noise.
Hmm.
And signal, I'm going to define that as what critical action steps do you need to take within the next 18 to 24 hours to move you closer to accomplishing your goal or your mission? That's signal. And then the noise is everything else. And so when I say making and keeping appointments with yourself is so important, you as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have really some important strategic things that you have to spend time on. And yet the tyranny of the urgent so quickly starts filling in the day that if you're anything like me, you find by the end of the day, you intended to get to it, but you never did. In fact, you may even have something put in your calendar, which is a skill set, by the way, for that very important non-urgent thing that could really have a long-term impact on your business, and yet you blow it off. And we both know how many clients could you blow off for meetings you schedule with them and still have a client?
Yeah.
And the answer is zero. And that's what I think is the critical paradigm shift here. When you blow off those important meetings, those times that you've set up for yourself to work on the long-term objectives of your company, you're literally going to lose your business because you didn't keep the appointments. Now, it might be longer term, but the effect is just the same as losing a client.
Well, and you've hit on one of the main conflicts or tensions that we have about owning a business. What the difference between the tyranny of the urgent and the priority of the importance, and how those two things contrast with each other. And the simple fundamental is that the tyranny of the urgent are all those things that aren't that one thing that Steve Jobs talked about. They're all the noise. And the important thing is the one thing. What if we did this one thing this week, just one thing that would move your business forward and change things permanently in some
Yeah.
small way? It's not usually the big, giant, start a new division or move to a new building or start a new product. It's the little things one at a time that we do that add up. 20 of those, one every week or one every 2 weeks, 24 of those in a year will drastically change where your business is. And it starts with the little things that we do with ourselves and for ourselves every day to keep us sane.
Yeah. You're so right. And there's so many examples of you have an objective, and I submit it's the week. You have an objective, and Gary Keller was great at that, the one thing. There's so many great books on this, but you have an objective. And I'll give you an example that I used it this last week and a half. The objective was to get our affiliate program completely up and running. That's a long-term strategic that's going to help us, one, empower our facilitators, but also help spread the word. Now, that's big in itself. So then I had to ask the question starting on Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday, what's the one thing I need to get done today
Yeah.
that will move me closer to getting that done in the next week and a half? And that was the one thing. And that was the one I focused on. And I dropped a lot of things that were easy to be distracted by, but not necessarily really important, to
But
make
you
sure
might,
that one thing got done.
but you might have felt like if you did all those little things, at the end of the day, you might have felt like you really were productive and really
Oh,
moved the needle. When
yep.
I call it for myself, I'm playing
Play
office.
Office. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of reasons people play Office. For me, I find a lot of times I get attracted or drawn to playing Office because I'm afraid. I'm fearful that I'm not good enough to get it done. Um, it's going to be crappy. I'm really uncomfortable because I'm doing something that is not in my nature. And so some of these other things like responding to an email or answering a phone call that is certainly not urgent and in some cases just noise, it feels so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
And checking the box and doing this and all of these to do things, right?
Well, and the tyrannical things, to your point, checking the box, you said that the tyrannical things that come at us every day, the 37 things that we knock 35 out and we feel productive, those are all things we can check box. We can
Mm-hmm,
look at them and say, I did that today. I
mm-hmm,
wrote that note. I responded to that phone call. It's all things we can get done today. And there's so many problems with the important things. One is that we can't check box them
yep,
too often right away. They usually take an hour once a week for 3 weeks, or 4 hours a
mm-hmm,
day for 6 months, and it's really hard for us to feel like we accomplished anything because they take some time to knock out. And so we tend to go with the stuff that we can feel productive on.
yep, yeah,
And
and that's it.
and then
Go.
there's the other thing that you mentioned was just that the tyranny stuff, it comes and finds us.
Mm-hmm,
Those 27 things that allow me to play office, they all sat on my desk. They came and found me, the emails and the phone calls and all that. It all's chasing
yep,
me. So it's easier to respond to because it's in my face. And to your point, I love the way you set this up with just finding the one thing that will actually move the needle permanently in some small way. We have to go find that. We can't,
yep.
it won't come find us. It'll sit in the corner and wait for us to chase it down and actually make it happen. So the deck is stacked against us doing
Oh yeah.
important things.
Oh, absolutely. You know, because there is again that fear, even to think about the bigger picture is sometimes for a lot of people, including myself, can be intimidating, fearful. And so these little tyranny of the urgency, they are so benign on the surface. They
Yeah.
are so easy, almost in a way, and not even almost in a way. I really believe some of that stuff is part of an addiction. Now, there's
Yeah.
different kinds of addictions. I believe we all have addictions. Some are more
You bet.
socially acceptable than others. But
Exactly.
but anything from, oh, I'm just going to scroll here and see what's going on to, well, let me just read these emails and respond to them. And it's that instant hit of dopamine that you're getting that, of course, a lot of businesses get paid to expose. And it then puts you that much further away from what is really important for you. And so my routine, and this isn't for everyone, but I really suggest, and I don't nail it all the time. In fact, Stephen Jobs and a lot of successful people, Richard Branson, those people have had high impact. And so I want to make sure I define high impact versus success, because success is defined by you. And impact is getting things done that you intend to get done. And so I want to emphasize when I have the highest impact, my morning routine is like, what's my objective for this week? That's going to contribute to my monthly and quarterly goals, which contribute to my annual. But what's it for this week? If I think too far ahead of that, I get overwhelmed. I really do. And so
Yeah.
what is that? Okay. Now, what's the thing today I need to get done today above all else that will get me closer to getting it done for the week? And that's the one thing I put on the calendar and I block out. It could be only 15 minutes, by the way, but
Yeah.
it's usually no more than 30 minutes to 45 minutes for that day. And that's a win. When I do that, man, do I get more accomplished, less stress, and it's amazing. Almost the accomplishments happen magically versus the other way around where I start thinking about and responding to all of the stuff coming at me.
I still get done the tyrannical things, but if I don't, to your point, I do something similar in the morning. I tie mine to my life vision, which is to live well by doing good. And I ask
Yep.
myself, okay, what would be the most effective use of my life today to live well by doing good? Well, I have to work on this 6-month long project because if I don't, the reason it's 6 months is I have to work on it every day. And if I don't work on it today, it won't be done in 6 months. So that's the most important way that I can live well by doing good today. And I find that when I do that, the other stuff still gets done. It's again back to Stephen Covey. He talked about some other speaker who had this shtick where the guy would put an empty vase on the table and he'd fill it with giant rocks, and then he'd ask the audience, is it full? And they'd all say, yeah, you
Yep.
can't put any more giant rocks in. And then he'd put pebbles in, and he'd ask them again, and then he'd put sand in, and he'd ask them again, and then he'd put water in, and it's finally full. And the point he was trying to make was, we tend to put the tyranny of the urgent is the sand and the water, and maybe even the pebbles. And we fill our day up with the sand, the pebbles, and the water. And if we do that, there's no room for the big rocks.
Yep.
But when you take that time in the morning to say, what one thing would change my business forever, the tiny little thing that I need to do, put an 11th step on my 10-step process. What's the one thing? That's the big rock. The big rock goes in the vase for today, or the vase for this week, or the vase for this month. The big rock goes in first. And somehow there's always room for the pebbles, the sand,
Yep.
and the water. But we just don't think that way. We're always looking at the little stuff.
Yep. Oh, and that's it. And then to tie a ribbon around all this, you put it on your calendar of when you intend to work on it. My suggestion is that should be one of the first things, if not the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Put a limit on the time even. And then when you're done, you can walk away and feel good. But even that intention without blocked out time is just a pipe dream. And that's where it goes back to those people who set appointments with themselves and keep them tend to have better results with their goals and have a higher impact.
And that's the appointment setting piece of this. The most important question in business and in life is why. We're not going to get into that one today. But I always say this, the second most important and the second least asked question in business is when. We don't like when. And that's what we're talking about here. When is, I'm going to do this thing. So maybe that's part of the why. But then when? Well, I'm going to do this at 9 o'clock this morning for 1 hour.
Yep. And where even, Chuck? You could even, that actually even adds another degree of it. Like you could get excited. For me, anyone who knows me knows that if I send a when, and then I put a where and it has a coffee shop attached to that where, I tend to get excited to go there, enjoy the coffee, and get the work done. And so it's kind of like it's a treat and it's an objective all at the same time.
Yeah. And I love that. And for me, part of this appointment setting that works for me is to find different places. I need a tactical place and I need a strategic place.
Yes,
and
that's great.
My office is generally a tactical place.
Yeah.
You think it's strategic, because you might be fancy and have a corner office, but it's tactical. I guarantee almost all offices are tactical.
Yep.
Into the to-dos, the emails and the calls and the people walking in and out and the meetings you're having.
Yep.
Most of it is tactical. Where do I go to find that place, that time in the morning or at noon or at other times where I can re-energize and be alone with my strategic priorities? And so find a strategic place that's different than your tactical. And to your point, a coffee shop can actually be your strategic place.
Yeah. And I love how you separate the two because I think there really are two distinct places for you to do different work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of successful marketing agencies that set this up, and really some high impact, high tech companies where they have special places for people to get creative and to really just, not get into the day-to-day stuff, but just play, have fun, think strategically. And what is that place for you? And I can almost guarantee you, almost to a person, not all the time, it's not the same place you do your tactical work. And
Well,
so that's really great.
and it's because we have these two opposing forces, the tyranny, the urgent, the priority, the
Mhm.
important. And they don't go together, they don't wash together, they don't play well together in the same room. We got to figure out where to do the strategic things. That's the important things. We got to get away from the place with all the tactical noise coming at us. For me, I can't do it where my office is, because even if there's no physical noise, I know that my computer's sitting there and I know that the emails are filling up, and I
Yep.
want to look.
Yeah, and you
So
want to look at them, right? Yeah, yeah. Even so much as a physical, for me, another place is just getting out on the trail and hiking.
yeah,
Um,
well, I want to finish with that piece,
mhm.
because I think one of the pieces that doesn't get talked about in these kinds of really important conversations about keeping appointments with yourself is, how do I energize and re-energize myself on
Yeah.
a daily basis? And that's the most important appointment I will ever keep with myself,
Yep.
is the ones I do before I quote go to work. What am
Hmm.
I doing to set myself up to have my own mental, emotional, and physical, and spiritual, and relational energy in the right place? I have a few things I do every morning, and I keep that appointment with myself. And
Yep.
sometimes I don't get to that appointment till later in the day, but almost always I do it first thing in the morning. There's two or three things that I do, some breathing exercises and some other things to prioritize my lifetime goals. And you've got a little regime of your own, I know,
Hmm.
but I think that is the most important appointment we can keep with ourselves.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I believe there's plenty of time to work on your business. Certainly, we've been led to believe to work in your business, but it's not true. But what's never mentioned or not mentioned often, although Stephen Covey, to his credit, he had that huge chapter on sharpening the saw way back in the early 90s, amazing. But for me, I'm at my best when I honor that appointment, which is what my personal routine is, which changes. It changes on a quarterly basis. I'm not rigid where this is it. I've done this every day for the last 10 years.
No,
I
no,
bet you on about a quarterly basis, I switch it up because it keeps it fresh for me. But
uh-huh.
almost without exception, it is a key to a great day versus a so-so day.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can't stress that enough for our listeners. That's the most important appointment we can keep. And I would just close this out by reminding what we talked about early on, what you said early on.
Mm-hmm.
How often would you, how successful would you be with clients if you blew them off? We need to think of ourselves as our most important client. Who is your most important client? Me. Take care of me first.
Yep.
And as my friend John Heenan in Belfast, Ireland says, give from your fruit, not from your root.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping those appointments with ourselves to energize and re-energize ourselves, and then to think strategically. That's filling up our root system so that we have so much more to give. I love this idea, and I'll confess that I'm not an appointment guy. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like block scheduling. I don't like any of that stuff. I love winging it and doing what feels good. And I learned that I don't have to love block scheduling. I just have to learn to love what it does for me and to use it
That's it.
sparingly enough to do the important things. So I don't have to block schedule every moment of my life. But I guarantee you, to your point, I block schedule when I'm going to do that important thing. And so I got one or
Mm-hmm.
two or three block scheduled things every day. And the rest of it I can do it as it comes
Right.
to me with feeling. But boy, I'm not going to get it done unless I schedule it.
No, and I love it. And I'll just finish up by saying I am not necessarily 100% fan of block scheduling, but I love the freedom that it actually gives me. And one last thing that I use block scheduling for, which is unavailable time.
Yes.
And too many people think they have to fill it up with these projects. But if you look at my calendar, more so now than ever before, I have unavailable time. What do I do in that
Yes.
amount of time? Whatever I feel I need to do or I'm drawn to do.
Yeah. That's a
So,
great way to re-energize yourself, not just with a morning routine, but to have time blocked during the day to where you can say, what should I do right now? Sometimes it's a whole day. What should I do right now?
mhm,
A lot of times I use that time strategically, or I write, or doing other things, but
yep,
having that time blocked during the day, otherwise the tyranny of the urgent will fill your schedule up and you will become a hostage of your own business. We don't want that
yep,
for anybody. Let's work toward freedom. And one of the ways to do that is to keep those appointments with ourselves. So I love that we've put a bow around this. Let's figure out how to make sure that we keep appointments with ourselves. It's so important in our business and life. Mark, this has been a delight. Thanks for being a part of
thank you.
it. Have
Pleasure.
a
Thanks,
great
Chuck.
rest of the day.